Lots of talk lately of a military strike against Iran. Now a clear warning from the top American military officer. CNN senior Pentagon correspondent Jamie McIntyre joins us live. Jamie, what's Admiral Mike Mullen saying about all this?
Well, John, a candid admission from America's top military officer that the United States right now really isn't up for another war.
While Admiral Mike Mullen won't say what message he delivered in recent meetings with Israel's top generals, the warning to Israel seemed clear. Don't drag the U.S. into war by launching a preemptive attack on Iran's nuclear facilities.
This is a very unstable part of the world, and I don't need it to be more unstable.
Privately, U.S. military officials say there is some concern Israel might feel compelled to strike before the end of the year. In New York, Iran's foreign minister dismissed the war talk as a psychological ploy.
Following repeated defeats in the Middle East, we do not believe that the United States is in a position to impose another war on American taxpayers.
With U.S. forces tied down in Iraq and Afghanistan, Admiral Mullen appeared to be on the same page.
Opening up a third front right now would be extremely stressful on us.
While Mullen stresses diplomacy, he concedes Israel is operating on a shorter timeline. For one thing, Israel fears Iran is closer to getting a nuclear bomb than the U.S. does. And it's concerned that Iran is about to upgrade its air defenses with new Russian SA-20 missiles. That would make airstrikes more difficult for the Israeli Air Force, which lacks the stealth bombers and cruise missiles in the vast U.S. arsenal. Mullen also conceded Iran could make good on its threat to disrupt shipping in the Persian Gulf, but insisted the U.S. military could keep the vital Strait of Hormuz open to keep oil flowing to the world. As for Israel, its public statements have mirrored the U.S. position, refusing to take the military option off the table while insisting no strike is imminent.
If you don't adhere to the carrot and the stick diplomacy that we've initiated, we are also ready for a military conflict.
Ironically, the bellicose rhetoric comes as there seems to be a little bit of a crack in Iran's hardline position. Tehran is indicating it may be willing to suspend the enrichment of uranium while it negotiates with European governments. And like the U.S., Iran is indicating that it would prefer to settle its differences through diplomatic means. John?
Jamie, of course, in 1981, Israel successfully went into Iraq and destroyed the Osirak nuclear facility. But a lot of time has passed since then. Iran has upgraded its air defenses, and as you said, going to upgrade them again. Does anybody there at the Pentagon believe that Israel would be capable of carrying out a successful raid there?
Well, they could carry out a raid. They certainly have the ability to do that. It wouldn't be as easy, and the results would be, the ramifications of that are really questionable. I mean, the real concern here is that if Israel takes unilateral action, it would undoubtedly drag the United States into a conflict with Iran as well, a conflict that wouldn't be entirely of the U.S. making.
Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon for us. Jamie, thanks so much. President Bush is weighing in on the possibility that Israel could attack Iran. CNN White House correspondent Ed Henry joins us now. Ed, the president spoke to reporters today. What did he have to say?
Well, John, what's interesting, as you know, there's been increased speculation that the U.S. or Israel could be headed towards a confrontation with Iran. The president really did nothing to knock down that possibility.
Asked about a flurry of reports suggesting the U.S. or Israel may attack Iran by the end of the year, the president did little to discourage the talk.
I have always said that all options are on the table, but the first option for the United States is to solve this problem diplomatically.
But by the administration's own account, those diplomatic efforts have done little to stop Iran from continuing on a path to try and enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. Pressed specifically on whether he would discourage Israel from attacking Iran, Mr. Bush refused to be pinned down.
The best way to solve it diplomatically is for the United States to work with other nations to send a focused message, and that is that you will be isolated and you will have economic hardship if you continue trying to enrich.
Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister sent a mixed message at the United Nations. He claimed Tehran, too, wants to solve the issue diplomatically, but added defiantly the U.S. can't attack Iran anyway.
Following repeated defeats in the Middle East, we do not believe that the United States is in a position to impose another war on American taxpayers.
At the Pentagon, Joint Chiefs Chairman Mike Mullen acknowledged with wars already in Iraq and Afghanistan, opening a third front would be stressful on the military.
That doesn't mean we don't have capacity or reserve, but that would really be very challenging, and also the consequences of that sometimes are very difficult to predict.
Admiral Mullen said he's deeply troubled by the increasing violence in Afghanistan, with June the deadliest month ever for U.S. troops there. But the president said he's confident his strategy will work.
It has been a tough month in Afghanistan, but it's also been a tough month for the Taliban.
Now, Admiral Mullen said he cannot send more troops to Afghanistan right now, but he said he hopes that if the situation in Iraq continues to improve, he could be shifting troops from Iraq to Afghanistan by the end of the year. But such a controversial move in the middle of a presidential campaign could get quite interesting, John.
It certainly could. Ed Henry for us on the North Lawn of the White House today. Ed, thanks.
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.